The belief that the Bible has no contradictions is not the outcome of critical thought. It is a dogma, which means it's something someone chooses to accept. And because of that, it is not built on data, it is not reliant on data, and it is therefore not susceptible to data. So you can throw all the Bible contradictions you want at someone who believes the Bible has no contradictions, and it will not change their mind. There's only one weird trick that can help people disabuse themselves of their dogmas. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. And a dogma is more like a credence than like a deeply held belief. It's something someone chooses to accept, not because they are convinced that it's true necessarily, but because accepting it opens the door to the benefits of belonging to certain social identities, whether that is just a sense of belonging or whether it actually gives them access to social and material resources and power and other benefits. And so all the data in the world won't put a dent in that credence unless someone decides to think critically about their own identity politics, about the motivations for the acceptance of that credence. And that process is really only catalyzed by a couple of different things. One is intense personal experiences associated with those social identities or with those data. And the other is close personal relationships with someone who might convince them to lower their guard when it comes to how they think about the relationship to those social identities that incentivize them to adopt and assert those dogmas or those credences. In other words, you can't talk about Bible contradictions to convince someone who believes the Bible has no contradictions to abandon that belief. You have to get them to think critically about their social identities and about the motivations for adopting and asserting that belief to begin with. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And that's why people frequently ask me if I think I'm actually making a difference when it comes to combating the spread of misinformation about the academic study of the Bible and religion. Most of the time, no, because I'm not engaging with folks who are willing to think critically about their social identities and about those credences. But I think my work is helpful for folks who are on that journey, who have begun to think critically about these things and need grist for the mill and need the data to be able to help them better understand why they got into the position they got into and how they can get out of that position. And for folks who are raised within these social identities and who have been conditioned their entire lives to accept these credences, that can be a particularly challenging and a particularly daunting task. But it gets better, and ultimately it's the right thing to do. So when you see people talking about how there are no contradictions in the Bible and you throw contradictions at them, expecting them to not be able to respond to them, they're not going to think critically about the data, and they're certainly not going to engage you on your own terms. What they're going to do is try to come up with a rationalization that makes themselves feel validated in accepting that credence. And unsurprisingly, that does not require a very robust argument. As I am wont to point out, all they need to do is gin up the tiniest little sliver of not impossible to convince themselves that their credence is good. And then they have sidestepped thinking critically about it at all. That's overwhelmingly what happens in these social media debates about contradictions in the Bible. So again, the only thing that is going to help them think critically about these dogmas is thinking critically about the foundation of those dogmas, which is their sense of self and their worldview and the social identities that are important to them. And that's a very hard thing to get other people to do, and particularly when you just have a brief social media engagement to try to do that. And the fit for this video has been Rick and Morty.